Hi, this is Dan, First Person Looter, and in a first for my channel, I'm going to review a game I've never played on this channel, but instead played over 10 years ago on a computer and then most recently played in my spare time on the PS5, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. When I first played this game, I was still new to the current generation of video games, and by current generation, I mean anything on or after the year 2000. Of course, I was floored by the size and scope of the game, both in terms of the physical map, and the characters and weapons, and all the different magic spells. It was overwhelming. And while I completed the main storyline, and perhaps some of the side quests as well, it still felt like it was the longest game I had ever played, and I was too exhausted and mind-boggled to go back in and get lost again, trying to find my way, trying to do more things to do, if anything. LOL. Wow, if only I knew how much there was still to uncover. But I would uncover much of that in my playthrough this year, using the Special Edition on the PS5. Although I understand there is additional content, including DLCs on the Special Edition, I know there was plenty in the base game that I never discovered on my first playthrough. And thus, even though I have played large open-world games since Skyrim, returning to Skyrim still left me in shock, and all of the sheer scope of the game. Again, in terms of not just the size of the map, but the location, characters, missions, and 1 million other little things that make Skyrim feel like a real lived-in place. I had no idea there were vampires in the game. I had no idea that you could choose sides in a war and have different outcomes. For that matter, I had no idea that there were multiple quests that could have different outcomes depending on your choices. I had no idea that you could contract diseases and that there would be multiple ways to cure the disease with potions or shrines. I don't recall being aware that you could recharge magical weapons. I don't think I fully understood the mechanics for enchanting and disenchanting magical weapons. For every step forward in my progress and understanding of the game, I would feel like I took 2 steps back and had an even greater amount of knowledge that I still didn't know. I was consistently overwhelmed with what I was doing, what I had to do, and what I've already done. Long story short, the amount of content in this game, from map sizes to characters to missions, apparel, weapons, potions, and magic. This game must be one of the largest I've ever played up until this point, even though the game is over 10 years old. I can't imagine how something like this was created when it was, considering we have better technology now and games don't always seem nearly as large even now. With all of that said, I do still have some gripes. I swore to everyone that I was done with Bethesda, with all of their game-breaking issues. I had game-breaking issues with Rage 2 and Doom Eternal. Regardless if Bethesda was just the distributor or not, it felt like anything Bethesda touched, no matter in what capacity, meant I would experience far more severe game bugs. And Skyrim is no different, which is a bit shocking considering how many years they've had to patch this game. Let me preface this by reminding everyone that I'm not a professional gamer. As much as I've played on this channel, I definitely have a hard time following story, and I have issues understanding how gameplay is supposed to work in terms of all the things I'm going to mention. These aren't things that are isolated to just this particular game, but I mention all of these things because I don't believe I'm the only person who wants to play these large type of games, but who may have trouble fully wrapping their head around everything. So maybe these are all issues that could be avoided or worked around if I knew better, but there are some things that are definitely bugs, several of which I looked up for help and saw other people saying that they were bugs as well. There's several missions that I've played for an hour or so, but later in the game they appear to be bugged in one way or another. For an example, without spoiling too much, one mission eventually has me accompany a character back to her home, but we're unable to enter. I had to scour the internet to figure out how to fix it. Luckily, I was able to fix it myself before I went through all of the steps offered by the internet, which required reloading multiple previous saves. For another mission, all of the diamonds were filled in, which means I completed those steps, but the mission's not telling me what to do next. The mission itself has not been marked as completed, but I do have the mission selected, so I don't know what's going on. Currently, I'm stuck on a mission called A False Front, which is having that exact issue. And my last example is regarding several missions that are telling me what I need to do next, but there's no waypoint. So I've had to use the internet to look up the location of the characters they want me to go to. In the most recent mission, I looked up where I needed to go on the internet. I went to that location, and there's a bunch of people trying to kill me, which I don't understand because in all of the YouTube videos I've seen with it, players walk right into that location with no issues. Maybe that's a bug, or maybe it has to do with the very in-depth storyline, and if it's the latter, I wish the game could tell the story a bit better to organize what I need to do a bit better now. Speaking of organization, I also have an issue with the handling of inventory. There is so much inventory, so much. Weapons, armor, potion, food, ingredients, scrolls, books, keys, miscellaneous. And within each is an alphabetical list of all the items of that category. But even having items listed alphabetically, it doesn't always help when, for example, there's different potions with different names but do roughly the same things in different ways. But when you collect so much different armor and weapons and magic, which all can be used in different combinations to set yourself up the best for different scenarios, it's frustrating that there isn't more organization. An example. I have a set of clothing, of armor, shoes, helmet, jewelry, which all benefit my general playstyle, which I would describe as middle-of-the-road warrior that likes to go in and hack and slash with the most powerful weapons I can find, with the occasional magic attacks. All of my wearable items offer similar perks that increase those abilities that I like to use, but there's occasions where I'm in a scenario that I need to play a little differently. Most notably, there are times when I need to keep my distance and use a bow and arrow. I have a set of elven wearables that I can use that all improve my bow and arrow abilities. A helmet increases my bow damage by a few percent, gauntlets increase it a bit more, jewelry a bit more, but Skyrim lacks armor sets like that in, say, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And that is really annoying and time-consuming, because when I need to switch armor, I have to manually scroll through the list and select each individual item. It helps that much of the elven armor is all together alphabetically, but what I wear through the majority of the game is not alphabetical. My workaround is to favorite the items, so when I scroll, I see a little triangle next to my favorite items, making it much easier to quickly select. The downside to that is that all favorites, regardless of whether it's a favorite piece of armor or weapon or magic spell, they're all lumped together alphabetically in the mini favorites menu that you can pull up on the lower left of your screen, and that clutters that particular menu, which I would like to use to only switch between things that I go back and forth on a lot on a regular basis. For example, I have 2 weapons that I go back and forth with all the time, same with 2 different shouts. But no matter what I'm switching between, I have to scroll through a favorites list that is jam-packed with armor and potions and weapons. It's very frustrating and time-consuming since I have to pull up that menu quite often. The map is also a little annoying. It's almost entirely black and white, and foggy. It always takes me a moment to locate my waypoint because it's a white waypoint over a white location icon, which is in a sea of other white location icons sprawled across a fuzzy white map. The only color is a custom waypoint, and even that's just a pale sky blue, which doesn't blend in as much as the others, but still. Related to the map is navigation for quests. I've wasted too much time trying to figure out where I need to go when I have a mission that starts in one map, takes me to another map from the DLC, and then I need to return to the main map, because there's no waypoint telling me to go back to Skyrim. The name of the place is in the quest summary, but there's so many places I can't remember them all, and I just find myself going on all sorts of quests all at once, which I don't always mean to do. I just speak to someone, and all of a sudden a new quest is added unexpectedly. My last negative comment is on the voice acting. It's all pretty bad, pretty campy. Most of the men sound like typical California actors trying to find work, and maybe this is their first huge project, but then they'll go back to waiting tables.
2 3s. You picked a bad time to get lost, friend. Poison is...
You!
Never should have...
playing the Bloodline DLC has a main female character that has a much better performance. I don't know if they just could find a better actor at the time after the positive reception of the base game. I have seen what the mod community has been able to do for the game on PC. I'm absolutely blown away by that work. The game can absolutely stand up to any AAA game now. I don't know how mods work, but it's amazing how the graphics look so much more detailed and realistic in every single way. I love the redesign of the HUD, the font. Maybe the modding community fixed inventory organization. I can only hope they bring those improvements to the console. Ending on a positive note. While my graphics look a little dated, they are still far improved from the original release, and I think the game looks great, at least in part to just the design choices in the game. For example, while the grass or a rock texture may have a low quality texture to them, that doesn't really matter considering the vista out ahead of me, with sprawling mountains, some with snow on their tops, green valleys below, a dragon or two drifting in slow circles in the sky. It is still a marvel to look at. I'm more than happy with the amount of content you get for the price of the game. I might even say it's worth it at whatever full price it's sold for, although I did get the special edition on a PlayStation sale for $13.99. Currently, it's $9.99 on clearance at GameStop in the PS4 version, but you can upgrade to the PS5 version for free. And it's $39.99 on the PlayStation Store. And my final positive comment is that I enjoy this game enough that I went out, found and purchased a used copy of the hardcover Prima Skyrim Special Edition official guidebook. The guidebook was originally just like 20 bucks or so, but it became a collector's item, and it's selling for upwards of $200 new. And it's almost impossible to find a used copy with all of the extras inside, like the jumbo map and the bookmark. But I found one for about $50 or so on eBay. Yes, you heard that correctly. I spent almost 3 times as much on a book about the game than the game itself. As an afterword, I will say that I still stand my belief that Bethesda makes extremely broken games, and I refuse to buy anything new from them. Certainly not at full price, but really I don't plan to buy anything new at all. I purchased this game not just because it was on sale, but because I had played it already, and I wanted to go back to see what I may have missed now that I have more gaming experience. Looking for a game to sink hours into? This is for you. Like to just hack and slash? This game is for you, but just know you'll need to learn and use a little magic. Do you like magic? Great, there's tons. But you will probably, well, you will need to use regular weapons as well to survive. Do you like story? There is lore galore. It is worth PlayStation's $40, but even more worth it for the $9.99 price at GameStop. And I think that about covers it for my review of The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. I have completed almost the entire game, I believe, except for many of these quests which are currently broken and I can't continue on with, such as a false front. I might try and start a new game as a new character and try those missions again. We'll see. I don't know. But that is it for me. Again, this is a review of a very old game, but it's coming from someone who is still experiencing games for the first time, and this is coming from someone who isn't an expert at these types of games, and I know there are still going to be people who are going to buy Skyrim for the first time because they were too young for it when it first came out. So, you know, that's how I feel about a game like this now. Alright, that's it. Take care. Bye-bye.
I will drink your blood and fuel on your flesh.